So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today I'm going to be answering Ask HR questions because I'm banned and we're well into the, I don't know, 40s at this point. But this one's going to be covering whether or not HR knows if you're going to be going to rehab out of Virginia. It's going to talk about a cryptic meeting with HR from the Bay Area, and finally, it's going to be a question out of Ohio about being fired without giving a reason. And so let's talk about these and let's walk them through. The first one up out of Virginia: if I get health insurance with my employer, does HR know I went to rehab? So uh, they have health insurance through work, and it's in the public sector. Will they see the bills? So no, especially in the public sector. In the public sector, they absolutely won't. Even in the private sector, they really won't see anything. They may see a big bill if they're self-funded and be able to sort of pick out exactly where that big bill came from. But ultimately, HR wouldn't know if you went to rehab and really doesn't really care. I have a lot of questions about how this would work. I mean, it seems like you don't even have health insurance at this point. But regardless, if you, health insurance is very private and for the most part isn't disclosed in any real meaningful way. And as a result, you're good to go. Next one up is a cryptic meeting with HR in the Bay Area. The head of HR, it's a small company, brought him in, sat down and asked questions like, would you recommend our company to your friends? Where do you see yourself in 2 years? Are you satisfied with the company culture? Do you have everything you need to succeed? And the question was, is this a normal HR thing? What do you HR professionals think this means? So this is, considered a stay interview. Now, frankly, I think a lot of those questions that she's apparently asking you are sort of hokey and silly in many ways, but they are questions for a stay interview. And the reason people conduct stay interviews is to minimize turnover. In fact, you know, while it is a volatile industry, there's a good chance that they're losing people and they're wanting to keep them, and that's why they typically conduct these stay interviews. So I mean, I don't consider this a very cryptic meeting unless perhaps you haven't, worked many places for very long. Stay interviews are very common, especially in high turnover industries or in high turnover areas. And so, congratulations. It seems like they value you quite a bit. Keep up the good work because you're right on path, I think. Next one up is from Ohio. It says fired and not given reason. And frankly, there were a couple things I wanted to illustrate on this one. Employee was fired out of the blue recently. HR would not tell them why, just said it's an at will state. They're upset and afraid that they will try to deny unemployment. And it says, is HR in charge of communicating with the unemployment office over why I was fired, if I qualify for unemployment, or is that more of a legal thing? Any advice would be appreciated. So, first off, HR is generally, I mean, it depends on the size of the business, right? This is a little bit hard to say. It depends on how big it is, but generally, HR is in charge of communicating with the unemployment office over why a person was fired. They don't say necessarily if you qualify for unemployment. That's the unemployment office's duty to figure out, but they will say why you were fired. The backup to that is that you typically will respond why you were fired, and you communicate with the unemployment office as to why you were fired and bring any documentation that you need or anything. Frankly, if they don't tell you why, it's unlikely that they'll tell the unemployment office why as well. And as a result, most likely you'll just get unemployment. I really strongly would be surprised if you were fired out of the blue. Most people understand that they had done something wrong. And if you didn't, and if it was completely out of the blue, I would do a lot of soul searching, dig deep, and try to find a reason because it could have been an illegal reason, to be totally honest. You never know. But it's one of those things that it's quite possible that the HR person would not tell you why. But in my years of experience, I always give the person a reason. It mitigates a lot of hard feelings. It mitigates a lot of legal concerns, and I think it's generally a bad idea to not give a reason. That said, I don't know your situation, and I can imagine that there's probably a good reason if I had to guess. But ultimately, HR does not communicate with or HR does communicate with the unemployment office. Legal does not, because it's not really a legal thing. Now, legal might advise, and the reason that they would do that is if there's a potential for like an EEO claim or something, the company could give over evidence that it may shouldn't. But generally speaking, legal doesn't get involved. They don't know anything about this. All right, well, that's it for my Ask HR questions for this week. Let me know what you think and what you think about at will employment in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.